yeah, this is what I have always dreamt about, you
Yeah.
know.
So we're gonna talk about those things. So let's get started. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go ahead and get started. So check this out. I have a really nice lineup for us today. So of course, you can always receive this interview, or sorry, you can always receive this workshop after the class. So the topics, as we've talked about in the last reschedule, are going to be dress, preparation, common questions, interviewing in person versus online, behavior, and follow-up. And then obviously, if you have any questions at any time, please feel free to jump in, let me know. If you have any other input or things that have worked for you that I haven't mentioned, then of course, let me know. Like any value that you can bring is fantastic. All right, so I know we talked about this a bit last time before the internet interruption, and as you know, in Israel, we want to have it be business casual for men and women. If you're not sure what business casual is, then you can just Google image business casual for men and women, and you'll be able to see what that looks like. For men, it's typically without a tie and without a jacket here in Israel. For women, it's typically without heels. But of course, you always want to ask in your field to see what it is that you should wear. Typically, people who work in business are going to have to dress a little bit more formal. So for men, they have a collared shirt, nice pants, slacks, jeans, nice shoes, not athletic shoes, no tie, no suit jacket, unless it's for a position which you're supposed to wear it for. For women, a dress, a nice shirt, nice pants, nice shoes, heels only for a position which you're supposed to wear them. Once again, this is for Israel. If you're interviewing in the United States, the majority of, if not all of your interviews are going to be like either a jacket with button down, slacks, nice shoes, or like I've always worn a tie with a button down, slacks, and nice shoes, like tucked in, like very formal. So it depends on the country and depends on the industry and depends on the position. And if you're unsure, then you can always ask like on a Facebook page, for example, Masa community, or you can ask on like Secret Tel Aviv jobs, you can ask there for the specific position, or in WhatsApp groups if you're part of certain WhatsApp groups. So make sure to ask around. So preparation for an interview. So this is just kind of the outline for how to best prepare. The first thing, of course, is you want to research the company, and I'm going to break down each of these points for us in the workshop. So you want to research the company, the interviewer if you can. You want to write down your answers to common questions. So you literally want to write out all of the different questions that you could have. It would probably be, I'm going to give you 11 of the most common questions, but then I would pick 20 of the most common questions depending on your industry, and then write out your answers for all of those questions, and then tailor your answers according to what the job or what the position is looking for, and make sure each answer is clear and concise. And of course, the most important part, well, I guess it's all important, but the key piece to the success is practice again and again and again. So let's go over research very quickly. I know it's straightforward, but it can be easy to miss. So really understand what the company does, know their products, services. This means to like really understand what the company does. So when they ask you, what do we do? You are 100% confident in what the company does. Like when you answer, they have no doubt that you know what you're talking about. Know when they started, because it makes a big deal if it's a 3 or 4 year old company versus a 25-year-old company. It'll be a completely different animal of a company. So knowing when they started is very helpful. And it'll also help with follow-up questions at the end, which I will provide. Know who the CEO is, because if you're in conversation and they mention the CEO and you say, who is that? And they say it's our CEO, you'll look very silly. So you want to make sure you know who the CEO is. And then research your interviewer if you can. Nothing will necessarily change in knowing the interviewer, but it just helps to know who's going to be on the other side asking you questions. So if you know who the interviewer is, look them up, look up their background, and so that way you can just best prepare. So there's no surprises. So, and I'm going to go, and we have like a decent amount of content, so I'm going to go at a good speed because I know, you know, the topic of interviewing isn't exactly the most exciting topic, but it is important to know, especially, you know, to have success in your career. So I'm going to talk at a good speed, but if there's at any point, you know, if you're like, hey, Yoel, I didn't understand that, or hey, I have some insight in that, or hey, I want to share something about that, like stop me at any time, no problem, okay? And who we have here? We have Sophia. Sophia, welcome, Sophia. We have a smaller group today. It's more of a private session, but we're going full speed. And also, I'm giving the presentation in a way that that those that watch it afterwards, since it is recorded, can then, hey, nice to see you. How is it going? Yeah.
Hi, nice to be here.
Nice to be here. Nice to have you here. So I was just mentioning that, so here, let me just give you 2 points very quickly. Is number one is typically we have more people. We usually will have around 25, but because it's the weekend and now everyone's back out in the wild, there are less people. But because it is a recorded workshop, we still post it on the Masa community page. So, you know, those 700 plus people can still benefit from the workshop. And so I just want to just give you, let me just rewind real quick. So all we've talked about real quickly is just dress, and you can have this presentation afterwards. So you'll have all this. But where, by the way, where are you at right now? Are you in Israel?
Yes, I just finished my Masa like a week ago. I'm Aliyah Hadashao.
Fantastic, fantastic. Are you making Aliyah?
Yes, I made Aliyah.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, perfect. So
and right now I'm looking for a job, so that's really helpful.
Great, great. So this is a good place to be. So quick thing about the dress in Israel for women is in Israel, it tends to be quite casual when it comes to the dress. My advice is it's always safe to be business casual. If you're not sure what business casual is, just Google image business casual woman, and everything they're wearing you can wear besides the heels. Only wear heels if you know for sure you're supposed to wear heels. Okay? But in general in Israel, business casual is safe. And then I just outlined research, and I'm gonna go into detail for each of these things, but I just talked about researching the company, writing down your answers to common questions, which I will give you before going into your interview, and of course, practicing. And when you research, you really want to understand what the company does. So when you answer that question, when they ask you, you are confident in answering and they feel that you know what you're talking about. Know when they started. So if you know if it's a startup or an older company, know who the CEO is, and research the interviewer if you can. And now we're caught up. So now we're on the common questions. So I picked these questions with a lot of thought, because although you might not get all of these questions, these are going to be really helpful questions to know, because sometimes they can be curveballs. But these are 11 questions which you should definitely know the answers to. And then I would also pick another 10 questions to answer based on what you think they will ask. So you can just look online, what are the top 50 questions? I wasn't gonna just give you answers to 30 questions because it would just be a lot. So I'm giving you like the top 10, 11. But go in there and select another 10 that you think they'll ask you. And even if they don't ask you those exact 20 questions, they might ask you, I don't know, 8 or 9 different ones. Because you've answered all of these 20 questions, even if they give you questions you haven't prepared for, you can pull from the answers of the other questions. And if you've practiced enough, it'll be very easy for you to create a good answer for a question that you didn't technically prepare for. So I'll read these quickly, and then the following slides are actually going to be the answers to each of these questions. And I'll talk about what the approach is, what the strategy is in the answers to these questions. And like I've mentioned before, if you have any questions at any time, like just stop me right then and there, say, hey, Yoel, I have a question, or hey, I have a question about this, I don't understand that. Or if I say something, or if I talk about something and maybe something has worked really well for you, please feel free to mention it. Vladimir, welcome. Welcome, Vladimir. We're glad to have you here. We have a smaller class, but nonetheless, we're going full speed. If you want to join us with video, that would be great. If not, not to worry at all. Just want to mention that even if you've missed the first quarter of the presentation, you'll get the presentation afterwards, so you'll still have everything. Right now, we're going to talk about the common questions and answers to those. So tell me about yourself. Why do you want to work here? What do you know about our company? Why are you leaving your current job? What are your goals for the future? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you passionate about? Can you explain these gaps in your resume? Explain why you've had so many jobs. Are you comfortable with this type of work? What is your salary expectation? And would you be willing to work nights and weekends? So to answer these questions best, we're going to do a little bit of a role play. Okay, so I'm going to give you a scenario of a position that, let's say, I am trying to receive. And so let me just describe to you the company, what the position is, and then I'm going to describe the answers to these questions. I'm going to read the role play for you guys in a second. And even though you might not be going for this type of position, it doesn't matter because the format or the approach or the strategy will be the same. Okay, so here is the scenario. The following answers are for a potential data or business analyst role. Let's say this position is for ABC company who measures video performance. Their platform gives you data insights on how your videos perform based on your viewer behavior. This position that I'm going for analyzes the behavior of ABC company's customers and how ABC company's customers use the product. The objective of this position that I'm interviewing for is to find key insights in the data to bring in more customers for ABC company. So the job that I'm going for is I need to bring in more customers for this company by finding key insights in their data. You don't have to fully understand what the role is, although I think it's pretty clear. Let's assume my background is an even mix of the following. So this is like some of my background and it's also made up. So I have some years of experience in video marketing, in sales, company event programming, a decent amount of community management, and I studied tourism development and hospitality. Okay, that's basically my resume. So in this example, I don't actually have any business analyst experience. So I'm actually going for a new type of role. Okay, and also welcome, Emma. If you wish to join on video, that would be great. If not, no pressure, no worries at all. We're just going through prep for questions. So here is the first question. And before you guys jump into reading it, let me just explain it real quick because I'm going to read it for all of us in a second. So the tell me about yourself question is always going to happen. Let me see. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And so the tell me about yourself question happens 100% of the time. And it's kind of the trickiest one to answer. So what they really mean when they ask you this question is, what value can you bring? What value can I bring to the company? This is not the chance where you want to share your life story. If you want to mention where you're from and you made Aliyah and how long you've been here for, that's no problem. You know, I mentioned that here. You can have a couple sentences about that. But the idea here is you are sharing your professional story, and it is a very well-tailored story. So what the couple of bullet points I have here is think what's in it for them. And that's the narrative that you should have in mind the entire time during the interview. The interview isn't just about, let me show off how good I am. The interview is everything that I answer, what is valuable for them? What is in it for them? You are, oh, that's your anchor. And every single one of your answers How is my answer valuable for them? And guys, you control the narrative. You paint the picture for them. You decide exactly what they hear. So let me just read this quickly. By the way, your answer should be anywhere between 30 seconds to about 2 minutes. This one's going to be about a 2-minute answer, and it's allowed because it's a big question. So let me read this, and then we'll diagnose it, all right? And see if you can identify patterns as I'm reading it. So I'm originally from the US. I moved to Israel 1.5 years ago. After graduating from university several years ago, I worked in organizational program development. So guys, just so you know, that's another way to say company event programming. It just sounds nicer. And video marketing for several years for a tech company. In working in organizational program development, I ran the company's culture and employee event programming for this 1,000-person company. One of our main initiatives was using quarterly employee surveys to acquire employee data to better understand their needs and the company's strengths and weaknesses so we could build initiatives tailored to the needs of our employees. We were able to improve employee satisfaction levels by properly analyzing the employee data we received. I was also one of 2 people on the video marketing team where we created weekly video content to improve employee engagement, company communication, and sales leads. This position was largely dependent on the video data we tracked and analyzed because we use this information to decide how to shape future content to improve effectiveness in all 3 areas. When I moved to Israel, I began working with Green Productions and Artsa Productions as a production assistant. So I was able to see all the behind the scenes of movies, television, and videos on a highly professional level. Following these roles, I moved to my current company in Tel Aviv called Srutonim, which is a video marketing and content creation agency in Israel. I'm currently a business developer working in their sales and marketing department. A large part of my job is to use YouTube analytics from our popular YouTube channel, where we post hundreds of videos to understand which pieces of content work best and why. I'm responsible for identifying key insights from the data in order to improve the performance of our customers' videos to help grow their business in ours. Now, I know that is a mouthful, and I know that might not have been the most entertaining thing to listen to, but I wanted to give you guys this chunk because you're going to get the presentation, and that way you can use this as a platform to create your own answers from it. So what just happened here? Basically, guys, you have a lot going on in your resume, but you have 2 minutes to create a story that you decide what to highlight. And you only want to highlight the relevant experiences that you've done, the relevant projects that you've done. Since I'm going for a data and business analyst role, what I did is I basically looked at all of my experiences, and let's say I have 100 experiences. I just picked out the 15 experiences that were the most relevant. Maybe my job was not so much about those experiences, but I'm gonna pick those out and I'm gonna focus on those and create a story around those experiences to give them the impression that I have experience in those, that I have experience in that. You're not making up a story. You are picking out things that you actually have done and just highlighting them and focusing on the relevant things. The idea here is you want to choose everything that is the most relatable to the actual role that you're doing. So if I'm going for a data business analyst role, I want to choose everything that is even relevant to business and data analytics, and I want to show how I brought value in those experiences. It could be that 85% of what I did is not shared, and this was only 15% of what I did, but I'm still creating that narrative and focusing on those relevant experiences. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense, and I have a question about it. How do you know which details to pick out from your CV?
So the details you want to pick up from the CV are the ones that match the job you're going for. So in this case, if I'm going for a business analyst role, and I'm also going for a role that works in video, I want to mention anything that is related to data analytics, anything that is related to analysis, and anything that is related to video. For example, I don't mention anything about my university because my university has to do with tourism, which has nothing to do with anything that I'm going for. I don't mention anything about community management, the fact that I created culture initiatives, projects for employees, company events. I don't mention any of that because it's irrelevant. So I only mention the things that match the responsibilities of the job that I am going for. For example, I mentioned here that I was organizational program development for this 1,000-person company. That means that I created events for this 1,000-person company, but they don't care that I can make events. They don't care that I'm an event planner. But what I did is I picked out the pieces within that type of position that dealt with employee data. And that was a small piece of the role. Employee data in those surveys, that only takes up maybe 5% of my role. But I pull that out and I create a story around that and I highlight that experience because it's important for them to know that I know how to analyze data and I know how to create initiatives based off of that data. Does that help?
Yes.
Excellent. And guys, if other questions pop up, like as we go along that, from a previous slide, please feel free to ask. So next question is, why do you want to work here? So I'm going to read it and then I'm going to give you some points on it. I would love to work for a company such as ABC Company because it is an innovative company that is helping individuals and organizations expand their business or anything else for that matter by having their videos reach more people and allowing those videos to have a greater impact when viewed. This platform creates more opportunities for individuals and companies while also providing more significant viewing experience for audiences. The work that you are doing is exciting, and I want to contribute to the value this company is providing others. So guys, what I'm doing here is I'm basically saying that I am connected to the purpose and the mission of the company, okay? That's the whole point, is that I am connected to the mission and the cause of the company. And I want to make note of that. Why do I want to suggest or to say that I'm connected or inspired by the company? Number one is you should really only be applying to companies that you actually want to work for and that their mission and cause does inspire you in some way. But number two is that everybody knows that if you are inspired by something or you love to do something, you are going to be much more willing to work at that thing and you're going to be better at that job if you are connected to its mission. So the idea here is you want to show that you are connected to the mission and the cause of that company and that you understand the impact that that company is making. All right, so once again, you're basically showing how you would bring value because you're saying that I'm going to work harder for you because I'm connected to your mission. And you're also complimenting them by saying, I like what you do. I like your impact. And those are things that they definitely want to hear. Any questions or comments about this question? Cool. So why are you leaving your current job? Here's a potential answer. While I have learned a lot at my current role, and I'm grateful for the experience, my current position involves a good amount of sales and client interaction. And while I have done well in this area and do enjoy it, what I do best and where I want to focus my efforts is in bringing more value in the area of data and business analysis and provide key insights to help the company grow so it can help others grow as well. My passion is focused on finding the important and relevant information that may be hidden within the data in order to enhance the product and expand its impact. All right, so basically what you want, one rule of thumb when you're saying why do you want to leave your current job is one thing is you kind of want to say that everything is fine. Even if your last job wasn't the best, you don't want to begin to complain about the things that were wrong in your last job. You might be leaving your last job because you didn't like the culture, or you might be leaving your last job because you didn't like your manager. But I would not suggest bringing those things up because you don't want to create an image that you are a picky person, that you might be difficult to work with. So even if you didn't love your manager, I wouldn't include that. One very professional way to say why you're leaving your current job is to say that you want to be more challenged. All right? Because by saying that you want to be more challenged, you're saying that I am willing to work hard and I want to grow as a professional. So those are really the big tips that I would say is you want more challenge, you want a place where you can grow, and I would not bring up like negatives from your last job because it might give them a bad picture of you. So those are the main points here with why you're leaving your current job. And also like people know that it's normal to leave your current job. They just want to make sure that there's no red flags as to why you're leaving your current job. Okay. So, sorry, I'm just fixing this screen here. All right. So what do you know about our company? I know ABC Company uses machine learning to generate business insights. Its platform is designed to provide insights into different aspects of a piece of content. Whether you're an advertising or marketing agency or a movie or TV studio or an individual, ABC Company helps you better understand and connect with your target audience by understanding the viewer behavior. Deeper understanding also creates more opportunities for people to expand their business and more impactful. Oh, looks like somebody's audio is on. It's okay if you're asking questions. May, it seems like your audio might be on and we can hear you. Just a heads up. And so, what happened here? What do you know about our company? Guys, this one's very straightforward. You need to be able to answer this question in a fashion. I think, just letting you know, just letting you know your audio is on. So, yeah.
Sorry.
No, hey, if you're asking a question, it's no problem. But just if you're talking or anything, just giving you a heads up. Thank you. And, oops. And so what do you know about our company? Guys, just make sure that you know what the company does. That's it. Like, be able to answer that with full confidence. And by the way, I know these answers are a little like lengthy and they're not like that exciting to hear as I read them, but I'm going to give you the presentation afterwards. So when you prepare for your interviews, at least you'll have, this presentation and these answers, and you can create questions or answers, based off of these answers here. So what are your goals for the future? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Also a very, very common question. You can answer this something like this. In 5 years, I would like to be a team lead of a data or business analyst team, spearheading important projects that are contributing to the growth of the company. I want to help others grow professionally and personally while also helping the organization grow. Guys, the key here is you want to show that you have thought about your future. All right? If you say, I don't know, they really will not like that. You want to show that you are a serious professional, that you have thought about your future, and that you want to work at a company where you can grow, and that you're looking to grow within the company, and that you are not afraid of responsibilities. As a matter of fact, you are looking for more and more responsibilities, and you are looking for more and more ways to make an impact. And that's it. You can add onto this. If you see yourself in 5 years in a different way, or if you want to accomplish other things, feel free to add this in. Like I said, this is a base for your answer. But essentially, you want to let them know that you have a plan, you're a serious professional, you're thinking about the future, you want more responsibilities, you want to generate more and more impact as time goes on. What are you passionate about? So I am passionate about working for a cause that is helping others succeed, and is innovating technology that allows ideas and human connection to reach new heights. I'm also very passionate about personal and professional development and always finding new ways to improve myself and better my performance, not only at work, but in all areas of life. So in this answer, two things happen. The first answer is that you kind of have to find a way to connect your passion to the mission and the cause of the business and of the position that you're going out for. You guys, let me be clear. You're not lying. You are taking your passion, that is a real passion, and you are finding a way to find your passion within what the company's passion is. So you are merging their passion and your passion together, and that's one answer, connecting your passion with their mission. The second answer is, this, to be honest, is more of a personal answer. It's something that I always answer with because it is something that I'm very passionate about, which is always looking to improve myself personally and professionally. Because what that says is that I'm gonna continue to get better every week, every month, and every year. And I am hungry and I'm a driven person and I always want to improve. Because like we said, the anchor of the interview is you are always showing what value you can bring them. So if you're always looking to improve, that means your performance is always going to improve. And if your performance always improves, you're always going to bring more value to them. So usually people want to improve themselves and as a professional and personally. So that's another good answer to put in there, as long as it's true for you. Everything that I'm saying needs to be true for you and needs to be put in words that are true for you. All right? Any questions so far? Cool. So here's another one. Can you explain these gaps in your resume? Guys, maybe you don't have gaps in your resume at the moment, but maybe you'll have gaps in your resume in the future. Maybe you want to take some time off and then you'll find yourself in a position where you have to answer this question. So here's one way that you can tackle this question. I wanted to take some personal time to travel and spend a bit more time with friends and family who I don't see often. I wanted to do a deep dive into job market research to better understand various fields and really evaluate where I wanted to focus my efforts professionally so I can truly invest myself in my career. Now that I've taken the time to properly research my next steps, I can be even more dedicated to my work and professional aspirations. So what happened in this case? The perspective you're giving is that your gaps in your resume are actually positives, that they're not negatives. That number one is, and maybe you didn't want to see friends and family, but maybe you always, if you have time off, you are likely going to be spending or talking or connecting with more friends and family more often. And that's always a good sign to show that you are a normal human person who has, who values your connections. And people understand that friends and family are the most important things in our life anyway. And the other thing is, by showing that you did some sort of research, some sort of investment in yourself, some sort of reflection, is saying that now I am super committed to this job. Now I'm super committed to this career. And basically what you're telling them is that the fact that I'm here talking to you for this company with this position is something that I have thought about. You are not a random company, because I took the time to think about my career. And so that means I took the time to think about this position. And so it means that you are, once again, that you are a serious professional and that you know what you want. And the fact that you know what you want means that you're being very purposeful you are very purposeful in the interview, very purposeful in the job that you are going after. So the idea here is to use your gaps as a benefit and to try and find all of the positive things and all of the benefits of the time off that you had in your resume. I would not suggest that you say, I was looking for a job for 8 months and I just couldn't find a job for those 8 months because the job market was very difficult. I wouldn't say that. I would really say that you took the time to better understand yourself And because of the time that you had to better understand yourself and the job market, you are now going to be able to do an even better job for this company. Once again, you're bringing it back to how can this gap in my resume provide you with value? Explain why you've had so many jobs. So there's a couple answers, and it's related to one of the other questions, which is you're looking to be more challenged. So your past jobs weren't challenging you enough, or you wanted to ensure that you continue to grow as a professional, and some of the jobs did not provide that room to truly grow. So once again, when you're moving from one job to the other, the default answers that, as long as they're true for you, could be that you want to be challenged and you want to grow with the company. And one thing that they want to see is that you're not the type of person that's going to be super picky and just going to jump from job to job. The impression you want to give is that you are likely to stay in this job as long as it's a job where you can provide impact, where you have enough responsibility that it's going to challenge you, and that it's a position where you can grow with the company. And what you're saying there is that, once again, you are willing to work hard for the company. That's it. If you guys have other answers that you've given for why you are changing jobs or why you've had so many jobs, please feel free to share. Or, if you want to write in the chat, also please feel free to write in the chat. If you don't want to ask like a question in person for whatever reason, you can also ask it in the chat. Or if you want to just drop a piece of valuable information, you can also drop it in the chat as well. And if you don't know where the chat is, if you hover over, for me it's at the top, you could hover over the bottom. There's a little area that says more, and then there's a chat selection there. So you can always drop it in there. Are you comfortable with this type of work? This is an interesting question. Even if you are not 100% comfortable with the work, but you think you can do it, your answer should be yes, definitely. This is the exact type of work I'm looking for and would love to contribute to its impact. You basically have to assume that down the road, you will be comfortable with this type of work and you will be good at this type of work. So you have to answer the question from that future state. Because if you answer the question with, well, I don't know if I can do this, they don't want that kind of person. They want someone who is confident in being able to do the job. So even if you're not 100% sure, but you think you can, answer yes, definitely, because in time, you will be comfortable with the job. So answer as you would from yourself in the future. Another thing you can add is I've had quite a bit of experience in my last jobs doing similar work. If you have, that's like another thing you can kind of add to the answer to show them that you are comfortable with the work. If you're not at all, if they ask you that question and in your mind you're like, I am not comfortable at all with this job, I will not know how to do this job, then probably this position is not for you, or this company is not for you. And then as a whole, the interview is not very relevant if you don't feel comfortable with the job. So the answer should be either yes, definitely, or no. And then the rest of the interview could basically end right there if the answer is no. And so almost the last question. This one also is an important one. What is your salary expectation? Here are the handful of things you should do to prepare the answer to this question. Number one, understand what the market is for your type of work. So for the position that you're going for, in the type of industry that you're going for, what is the typical market salary? What do most people make with that type of role in that type of industry? Understand the lowest that you are willing to go, because if they offer you a number that's too low, then you know that job is not for you. You're going to provide a small range. By the way, they don't always ask you this question. I would say maybe 50% of the time they ask you this question, or maybe they ask you this question in the written application, or sometimes they don't ask you the question because they tell you what the salary is going to be. So this one's like 50% of the time. But you want to provide a small range, which I've listed below. And when you provide that small range, there's two things you need to make sure of. One is make sure the lowest number is something you're happy with. So if you get within that range, you're content with that amount, plus within the market range. So for example, let's say that you would be happy with 10,000, by the way, guys, this is in shekels and this is per month. So let's say that you would be happy with 10,000 shekels per month, but the market pay for your job is actually 15,000 to 20,000. You're going to ask for 15,000 to 20,000, even if you would be happy with 12,000, because that's what the market is paying. And so that's what they should be paying, and that's what they're going to be willing to pay you. So make sure you do your research and you know what the market is paying. And especially if you're new to Israel, you should do your research because, you know, it's a new country. Everything is new here. So you need to understand really what they're paying, and salaries range a lot here. One thing that I can tell you is that if you're going into tech tends to pay a bit more. So make sure you know what that is. And the last question is, would you be willing to work nights and weekends? Now, this one is a bit more rare, but I included it because this one could be really important if you don't know really what you want. So first, let me just read the 2 bullet points. One is you could answer with how often would it be required to work nights and weekends? Because maybe it's only once a month, which wouldn't be so bad. Or maybe it's every weekend or a lot of nights, and then that's something that you don't want. In this answer, it's safer to just say yes and then think about it later. Because if you say no, you could be shooting yourself in the foot before you even get the job. And maybe in that moment, you don't think you want nights and weekends. But maybe later you reflect on the job and you realize, you know what? I would be willing to work nights and weekends because now that I think about it, this actually is an amazing opportunity. So that is, I would always answer with yes, because otherwise you could shoot yourself in the foot before you even get the job. And another reason why I include this is because you really have to understand what type of work, what type of job are you willing to work weekends and nights for? Maybe if it's an okay job, but it's nowhere near the job of your dreams, you're not willing to give up your nights and weekends. But if it's an amazing job and it would be very good for your resume and your future, and it's exactly what you're looking for, and it's amazing pay, then maybe you are more willing to work nights and weekends. But this is a lifestyle choice, guys. This answer is a big answer because if you're not prepared to work nights and weekends and the job isn't enough for it to be worth it, then you could be very unhappy with working nights and weekends for a job that you are not that happy with. So make sure you think about that question and you know the answer to that question. But in any case, you can just say, yes, I would be happy to work nights and weekends, because maybe later you realize you would be. And then, you know, if you don't want to work nights and weekends and you get offered the job, you could always say no, or you can negotiate a schedule later. So that's it for the questions. And we're nearing the end of the presentation. But that's it for the questions that you will be asked and how to kind of prepare for those. Here are questions. We don't have to say too much about this. These are questions that I suggest you ask the interviewer, because at the end, they're always going to say, do you have any questions for me? You most definitely will have questions for them. Here are some of them. What do the day-to-day responsibilities of the role look like? What does success look like in this position, and how do you measure it? What attributes does someone need to have in order to be really successful in this position? Where do you see the company in 5 to 10 years? Are there opportunities for career growth within the company? Who will I be working most closely with? What do you see as the most challenging aspect of this job? What's the company and team culture like? If it's a startup, where did the idea to build this company come from? So those are kind of the big picture questions. One thing that I always do, and is kind of, I don't know, I think it's common sense, but it also kind of gives you a leg up on people, is, guys, if you can get personal with the interviewer, like if you can connect with them on a personal level, on a genuine personal level, it's going to be an advantage for you. So some personal questions that you can ask would be, if they ask you, where are you from? You can ask them, if they ask where you are from, ask them where they are from. And basically you can create a conversation, you know, like if maybe the interviewer, for example, like my current boss is from Austria, you know, and I come from the United States. And so like there could be a whole conversation just based off of that. So that's something that could create a personal connection. Another question you can ask is, what's your favorite part about working at the company? Because one person might have one favorite part, another person might have another favorite part. And also we can give you a different piece of insight about the company, because you're also interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. You want to make sure that you're choosing the right company. It's a big decision when you choose a company. You're choosing a lifestyle, you're choosing a commitment of typically 40 hours plus out of your week, every week. So you want to make sure that you're making the right call. So like these are important questions. And if they didn't give you a full answer, feel free to dig a little bit more, because they're not going to be offended by it. They want to know that you are serious about your job and the company that you select. And another one I suggest I throw in there is, if it's a CEO or a co-founder, ask them about what inspired them to start the company. They love that question because that's something that's very close to them. It's their baby, you know, like it's their child, their company. So ask them about like what inspired you to start that. And maybe you'll get into a really interesting conversation about their journey and what inspired them to actually begin the company. And you might learn a thing or two from it. So what happens with the personal connection? Basically, it comes down to this, is that let's say, you know, you're equally as qualified as somebody else. You both have the same skills, the same experience, and you both had a good interview. At the end of the day, if the interviewer likes you more than the other person, you're going to get selected over the other person. There is a factor of likability, guys. We're all humans here. So if you like somebody more than somebody else, you are going to be more inclined to select that person, assuming that the qualifications are equal. All right, so the personal question is very important, and I always give it a lot of thought when I go into my interviews. Like, especially if I know who I'm interviewing, I look up the company, and I try and make them professional and respectful, but personal. And I always try and find some sort of authentic, genuine conversation to have with the interviewer. Not fake. You want it to be genuine. You want to come off as genuine. And this is a very, very key piece, which I think some people like skip this piece for whatever reason. Practice a lot. Like let's say you're practicing these 11 questions. Like I would probably practice going over these 11 questions like 10, 20 times, talking to the wall, talking to my mom, whoever would listen to me, because you should feel very comfortable answering all these questions. Because if you can be automatic in answering these questions, it's going to help a lot if you get nervous. Because trust me, there are going to be times in an interview where you just get nervous. But if you've practiced the answer to that question 100 times, there's something that happens is your subconscious, your autopilot comes on. And you just know what to say, even though you're nervous. So it can save you in a nervous situation. And also, when you come in and you can just boom, 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 and you know how to answer the questions, they're going to be like, wow, this guy or gal really prepared for this interview, and they want this job. Like, people can feel preparation, and it looks good. And it also helps with nerves. So practice a lot. You can't over practice. The other thing though is the only time I guess I have to be careful when I say you can't over practice, because you just don't want to sound like a robot, you know? You want to sound fluid and natural when you talk. So you want to talk to get to the point where you feel like you're having a conversation, but you know exactly what you're saying, and every sentence has been thought about. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a script. You don't have to like literally say word for word for word what you practiced. Basically what I do and what I suggest is I practice a lot. So then it's basically, it's concrete. It's in me. I know exactly what I want to say. And then I get to the interview and I let go. I let go. Like whatever comes out because I already know the answers. So my answers are going to be very different from what I wrote down on the paper, but as a whole, my message is still going to get across. So that's what I suggest. Don't try to be scripted, but practice so it's in your soul, the answers. We're coming up on the last few slides. So interviewing in person versus online, which especially during Corona was a big deal. And, you know, now times have changed a bit, so it could still be a big deal. So real quick, when you're going in person, you should bring a nice folder with a couple copies of your CV. And in that folder, you can write down the questions that you want to ask the interviewer, you know, just in case you forget or you just want to make sure you answer them, because like I said, it's a big decision. But you want to make sure that you memorize, where was it? You want these questions that are written here, you want to memorize those. Like you don't want to be reading them from a piece of paper. You want to practice those as well and memorize them as best as you can. And the less you can look at a piece of paper, the better. But that's what interviewing in person is, no surprise there. Interviewing online, here are some points to help you out. Firstly, have a professional background. You can even look at my background. It's just a neutral background, you know, like no posters, no flags. You know, I guess if you have an Israeli flag and you're interviewing in Israel, like it's okay, but I would suggest not. Keep it neutral, keep it professional. Check your internet, make sure your internet has been working and you have like good speed with your internet. Test your video and audio. Like if you're gonna have a Zoom call, you know, do a quick Zoom with a friend or family or something and just test your video and audio just to make sure it's working well. And your camera angle. Like for example, basically you want the camera angle to look like you are face to face with that person. An easy way to do it is to put books. Like I have books under my laptop right now that give me this angle. The last thing that you guys want, you know, is to have like one of these angles where it's just like a very weird position, because then it feels uncomfortable on the other side. And so it's a small thing, but it can make a big deal. And like, you don't want to be looking up anybody's nostrils. They don't want to be looking up your nostrils. So just keep it like this, you know, just like how you guys have here, most of you, it looks fine, just like that. Camera angle, books under your laptop or computer, big help. Just want to cover general behavior. A lot of this stuff should be obvious, but just in case, or maybe to confirm it, give a solid handshake. None of these like, you know, half handshakes, like it's a solid handshake. Proud of your background, no matter what your experience is. Know that you're worthy of this. You don't need to be arrogant. You do want to show off all of your best qualities and your best experiences. This is your time to shine. Come through with your best stuff. All right? This is your time to show off how awesome you are in a professional manner. Sit upright, look them in the eye, keep professional, respectful, nice, happy, friendly. You want to be in that state the entire time, and be nice to everyone. Because number one, that's just being a good person, like in general in life, you should be nice to everyone, but especially during an interview, because you don't know who's connected to who. Maybe the person that, you know, was sitting near you or that you had some small talk with just before your interview is best friends with the person who's interviewing you, or you know, the person interviewing you is just listens to the person that you were talking with, or listens to the secretary. And then, you know, they ask them, hey, what did you think about that person? They're like, they were super nice. We had a really nice conversation. And just another person liking you could also give you that advantage. So you want to make sure that you're nice to everybody, because you just never know. So you're at the interview, and at the end of the interview, you're like about to leave the building and they don't mention it after the interview. Ask them in person. You can ask them just like this. When will there be a follow-up with potential next steps? And if they say a few days, and it's been 4 days, on day 4, you follow up. If they say next week, it doesn't matter what today is, but if they say next week, by Thursday morning of next week, if you haven't heard anything from them, you follow up with them. And you can use this exact follow-up if you feel comfortable. Hi, so-and-so. Thank you again for the opportunity to interview. It was a pleasure to meet you in person. I'm reaching out to see when there may be a follow-up with potential next steps. Thank you and looking forward to being in touch soon. All the best, Yoel. Just like that, write to them. Very simple. And that's how I would suggest following up. Like I said, everything that I've given you guys is one very solid method to do all of this, and you can build off of that. It's not to say that like this is the way to interview. This is just one way to have success with interviewing, and mold this stuff to what works best for you and what fits your personality. But that's it, guys. So thank you for that. I know I talked a lot, but hopefully, you know, the messaging got through. Hopefully you guys learned a couple of tips, and, you know, email me, ask me for this presentation, because that way when you have an interview coming up, you already have some answers written down, and you can use the format and the strategy to help you out. And you can tailor the answers according to what you need. So that's it. That's it. And on there, if you haven't joined the Masa Community Facebook page, type literally Masa Community Career Opportunities into Facebook, and you can join. Guys, questions, comments, anything?
Yes,
I have questions.
Yes, ladies first, Sophia.
Okay, I have one question about one of the previous slides. You talked about the question, why did you have so many jobs? Mm-hmm. And what if my situation is like, on the contrary, I was working at just one company for like 6 years. Can they ask, why were you working for so long there? Why didn't you maybe didn't grow, didn't challenge yourself?
I did the same thing. I also worked at the same company for 6 years. It looks good. Did you have the same position?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's fine. Honestly, it looks good. The way that I would phrase it, if they were to bring it up and say, you know, I see that you've been this would be worst case, right? They might say, I see that you've been working at the same company for the past 6 years and you've held the same position. Was there any opportunity to grow, or how come you held the same position for those 6 years? And if they were to ask me that question, I would answer something along the lines of, although the title remained the same, the responsibilities changed every year. And so I was still able to grow personally and professionally. And each year I was able to improve my impact. I was able to grow with the company. The company grew throughout those 6 years. And so I was very content with the value that I was bringing, with the value that the company was bringing to me. And so I was in a great situation. And I would answer it along those lines, to say that it's just a title. Like, just because the title didn't change doesn't mean that my responsibilities didn't change. It doesn't mean that I didn't bring more value each year. It doesn't mean that you didn't grow each year. So that's what I would say, that each year you would bring value, that your responsibilities changed, that the impact improved, and yeah, those would be the big things that I would say. And then I would talk about like how your responsibilities changed throughout each year and give them a little bit more detail.
Okay, thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Was it? If you have other questions about it, please like let me know.
No, actually, all the rest is like I have my answers, so it's okay.
Okay, fantastic. And other questions?
Yes, I want to ask if you have any tips for interviews where you have more than one interviewer.
That's a great question. To be honest, there's not a whole lot different that you do. Like your answers are going to remain the same. The only thing is just to kind of give both interviewers your attention. It makes it a little bit trickier and it's a little bit more nerve-wracking because you're talking to more people, but just like make sure you're looking at both of them while you're talking, but your answers are going to stay the same. Everything's going to stay the same. Basically see them as one person, you know?
Okay.
Where it would change is if you can create a nice flow of conversation at the end with both of them, like if you can create a personal connection with both of them at the end, that would be great. You know, like if all three of you or even four of you, whatever it is, can get into some sort of genuine, personal, nice conversation, that's going to be great. I think that'll be the key versus just connecting with one and you couldn't connect with the others. If you can connect with all of them by asking each of them kind of their own type of question, that would be great. Like even if you were to ask each of them individually, what's your favorite part of the job? Like I would love to know what each of you think, because you might each have a different answer. Like that would be a good way to connect with each of them. And then almost like you kind of flip it on them and now you're kind of leading a discussion with them. That would be a really cool thing to do. Yeah, and I think it would impress them that you kind of led a group discussion. And any other questions, guys? Okay, looks like not. Well, thank you guys. And if you have any questions about anything, it could be about interviewing, about CV, about like whatever you want, feel free to send me an email. I'm always happy to help with anything career related. Or Israel related. I've been here, you know, a year and a half, maybe a little bit more. I also went through a Masa career development program. So, you know, I've kind of been in those shoes of kind of coming to a new place, not knowing anybody, and then trying to like find, you know, my career and almost like restart my life. So if you guys have questions about that, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, thank you guys and enjoy the long weekend, which I hope all of you have.
Thank you, Yoel.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Of course. Bye-bye.